Geneva Area City School Board. Thank you for your attendance. Can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Cybulski? Here. Mrs. Krieg? Here. Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Here.
Mrs. Ortiz? Present. And Mr. Pierson?
Here.
Thank you. Are we in compliance?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. If you're able and willing, please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Correspondence, Madam Treasurer?
I do not have any for tonight.
Mr. Interim Superintendent?
I have a couple of correspondences, both unfortunately on Friday of last week and also today. Both the high school and the middle school received some anonymous, we'll just say, safety concerns via emails or Snapchats that kind of came across our desks. In working with the Geneva Police Department in the early hours of last week and also today as well, both were founded to not be credible from the get-go, but we did take a lot of time and a lot of investigations to try to figure out what had happened. I want everybody to know that the safety of the students and the security of the students and staff is certainly our number one concern when we address these. Unfortunately, across the county and across the state, we're seeing a lot of these social media posts that are going out that are being reflective of other schools in other states, in other parts of the country even, that are just being, I'll say, copycatted from one to another. Somebody today put out one on Snapchat that superimposed the word Geneva on top of it and had nothing to do with any of us. So I don't know when the stuff on social media is going to stop, but we appreciate it when the parents and the students come forward and say, we have heard something, we need to let us know, Case in point, last Friday, we were well aware the night beforehand, and today we had a student come in the middle school, reported it immediately before anybody arrived. So we knew that these were not credible, and these were reported very, very soon, and they were informed. We've had some parents today. We did put out, in both instances, we did put out letters to the community after we had thoroughly investigated and we made sure that we had the best information and we would resolve things appropriately. We walk as a district a very fine line when we are involved in a police investigation. They were conducting theirs, for instance, today throughout the course of the day, and we had to be very careful about what we would put out, when we would put out it, to notify everyone. So I understand a few parents were a bit concerned, and they emailed me and reached out to Mr. Poland as well today, and we responded to all of those. One of them, I'll just read briefly as part of the correspondence, just to thank, I said thanks for reaching out via FuelShare. Yes, there was a post on Snapchat last night that was investigated by the Geneva Police Department and School Administration. From the onset, it was deemed as not credible, and yet understandably for the safety and security of everyone, the police have investigated the situation and concluded it was not credible. The post was shown to School Administration early this AM, and a letter has already been written by Mr. Poland, the building principal, which should be going out shortly and posted on our website. Finally, thanks for your comments, as they're truly appreciated. The letters were both sent out. For response, I appreciate your communication and your insight. Also, your response time compared to past experiences with a previous superintendent is unmatched. I wish I could have seen something from the school before a parent brought it to Facebook, but hey, those are the times we live in nowadays, I guess. Unlike others, I just ask the source directly for the most accurate information. Don't get stuck in the social media format. If you have a question on anything, please reach out to me. Please reach out to your building administration. Let us know. Let us put the rumors, whatever is going to rest as quick as we can. This district works under the say something format. If you say something, you see something, make sure you let us know so that we can handle it. But again, the situations were resolved in both cases. The parents have been very understanding of what we're going through, but again, keep in mind, this is something that is going on, unfortunately, across our country right now, and hopefully it will come to a very quick end. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion to waive the reading and approval of minutes, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion about that? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cybulski.
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg.
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Treasurer's financial report.
So I have given you, again, the financials for the month of August. Again, carrying on with the tradition of what Kevin, Mr. Lilly had given you. We have a cash summary report and a cash position report, where we started out in our cash fund balances and where we are today. So,
Can you guys hear her? She doesn't have a mic.
So the board was given a cash position report, cash summary report, which again goes with each fund and special cost center and outlines our expenditures for the month and the year to date. Also in your packet is the current August luncheon report from Ms. Kapik, so you have that report there. I don't want to jump ahead. So are there any questions? So can I have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the approval, right?
Well, this is yes.
Is that first? All right, you need a second for the approval of the treasurer report.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion about it? Any questions?
And again, if something comes up when you review these, please let me know. Because I don't, exactly know how Mr. Lee presented these to you and what you would like to know with it. So,
Appreciate that, thank you.
okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg.
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz. Yes. Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski.
Yes.
Informational items, so this is on here too, right?
We need the approval of invoices.
Did we just do that?
We need the financial report.
I need a motion to approve the invoices, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion about them? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz. Yes. Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski.
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg.
Yes. Now informational items. Current investments.
So, again, I guess we need a motion in a second.
Okay. We get a motion, Taylor?
Oh, so we just talked, okay, perfect. I apologize.
Great.
I'll get it, just,
Yeah.
it's only meeting two.
Meeting number two.
Tell me how to do it.
Attached again is the investment report. Like I told you last time, Mr. Lidley was very, interactive with this and did invest. The money is coming in right now, it is going into a savings account, and we will be opening still a Star Bank, which will also, take the place of individual investments. And from Star, there's even another, longer-term investment provider that I'm looking into, Red Tree. So, who, again, deal with schools.
So this list will,
It's gonna get shorter and shorter, but then it's gonna be replaced again with a Star investment report added to it, and maybe a Red Tree also.
Red Tree is the other one?
Yes. So Star Bank, and then Red Tree. So it's Star Bank. It's not the chat.
Any other questions or?
And we don't have any money tied up in cryptocurrency or Dogecoin. Awesome.
Okay, roll call, please.
Nope, no roll call.
Oh, you're right. Stop it. Legislative report, Mr. Pierson, please.
So we have a really exciting update from the State House this month, which is competitive bidding thresholds have raised from $50,000 to $75,000. So now, if we need to seek any repairs, new buildings, enhancements that last 5 years or more in the state of Ohio, if they cost more than $75,000, we must, by law, have multiple people bid on them to compete for the best price in our needs. So there it is from Columbus, everyone.
It was 50 before, and now it's 75.
It was 50, yeah, it was 50 before, but now it's 75.
Who's getting up for this?
It's gonna start in January 2025 though, so if you're excited about it now, you're gonna have to wait a few months until January when it changes. But it's coming.
All right.
Stoked.
Brace yourself. Perfect. ATEC report, Mrs. Ortiz.
So we met on Monday. ATEC received a 4.5 star on the school report card, so they exceeded the state requirements. Construction for the new academies is on schedule, and the GRIT program was able to serve 97 participants, 61 received credentials, 52 received job placements. They were areas of STNA, aviation, advanced manufacturing lab, rise up customer service, entrepreneurship, and small business with Google IT. So that was pretty exciting.
That's good numbers.
Yeah.
Jamie, do you know, are those local placements or? Yes.
All of them are local?
Yes.
Wow.
That's really cool.
It's amazing.
Report the superintendent interim. What?
All right, before the building administrators and supervisors give their report, just a few things on my end before I will do our local report card results. We opened the district, this is a few weeks ago, with over 2,000 students. We had 2,055 as of Labor Day. Maybe a little bit up, plus or minus now since that point in time, but over 2,000. Prior to the students arriving, we had staff opening days and waiver days. We covered a litany of topics, many of which were requested by the staff. We talked about trauma-informed care. Mr. King led one on project-based learning. We had a work session devoted to highly qualified student data and professional growth plans, which need to be submitted annually to the staff. Effective communication. I took some time as well on my end to speak with all of the electives and the specials just to see what kind of professional development opportunities they might like to maybe tailor it more specifically to their content here moving forward. And we also had NWA gap, which we'll talk about later on during the report card presentation. There's always room for improvement, but I think the feedback that we've received from the staff overall was very positive, and we're moving in a good direction with that. Second off, the board has talked quite a bit extensively about the student delegates being placed on the Board of Education. Since our last meeting, just so everybody is aware, I have reached out to the Ohio School Boards Association and spoken with their legal department, who have advised me on me and given me some information related to what they can and what the pros and cons, I guess, of it are, and I've shared that article with the board. Also, they recommended some language be placed into our board policy dealing with student participation. Neola has sent me since that point in time a template for policy to be written, because I do not believe that we have one currently in our board policy that would address that. Met with Mr. King, Mrs. Marti, we've kicked around several ideas and we will continue to do so. We need to determine ultimately the process and the procedures, what the selection is going to look like, what our expectations are for these students when they come. It could be everything from participating up here at the front to just making presentations, or taking information from the board back to the student body and we'll bring back on it the next month. There's lots of different formats, so we just have to ultimately decide to figure out what we need to do on that one. But it is moving forward. So, are there any questions from the board before I keep going on that?
One of the things you're talking about is not doing it with the officers, but in this, like in January for like the spring semester. My only concern about that would be when any of new board members join. It's a little bit of it's a big transitional time. So I don't love that idea, but talk about doing that what we want.
So we can look at that. It's also board appreciation month too, so.
Sounds like it's
I feel like that's made up.
Can't answer that.
Everything's a made up thing.
Upcoming dates, as a reminder of the community, there is no school on September 25th or October 11th. The first is a PD day for staff and the NEOA dates for the students on October 11th. I guess on my appreciation, I'd like to extend to the leadership of both OC and GTA. They've welcomed open arms and have some good conversations about some of the things that we want to try to work on in the district. Communications has been much better, and I do appreciate their time and their efforts as we try to move forward and work together and address what we need to do for the students in this district. At this time, I'm going to do a brief board presentation and to the community on the local report card that was just released Friday. All right, switch, how about that? Okay, so I'll do my best to kind of, hopefully this will show up okay on the screen as we go through it. As I said, the results were released last Friday, and we've started taking a good hard look at this information. Just to kind of a reminder, just an overview reminder of what this report card actually is. There are 6 categories, everything from a gap closing component, graduation, achievement, progress monitoring, and such. So 6 key points are on everybody's local report card. They break it down in order to get your overall rating, meaning your overall rating of 3 stars, 4.5 stars, like A-Tech had gotten. They break it down and use weights, and they assign the weights in those 5 categories. Oh, wrong way. Geneva received a 3.5 stars, so you can see that we met state standards. We received 3 stars in the achievement component, which is the performance index. That performance is not put into the weighted system. However, it does take a look at the students that are scoring proficient or higher on those Ohio State tests, broken down by grade and by subject area. So again, 3 stars in that area. 2 stars in the early literacy component. Early literacy component takes into account 3 different factors. It takes into account the proficiency in the 3rd grade reading. That's that 3rd grade reading guarantee that we hear so much about. It also takes into account the promotion in the 4th grade. And then it also takes into account 2 years worth of reading data from the past 2 years. And they take all that information and then they weight it and then they give you a rating of a star. So we just missed the 3 stars. 3 stars here for the gap closing component. At the bottom of the screen, those are the 4 areas that they actually 5 areas that they look at. The last one, English, language arts, math, achievement, and progress. That's the growth by the student body. So again, 3 stars in that end, meeting state standards. Again, graduation component, 3 stars, and a rating of a score of 92.3 along the way. And the 4-year graduation, they weight that 60%. They raise the 5-year, rate the 5-year as a 40%, and they come up with your calculation for that. In general, compared to the state, and I don't know why I said Geneva in comparison to the state, well, I guess it is. We had 3.5 stars. You can see that district-wide across the state, we are one of the 135 students, or staff, districts rather, that received 3.5 stars. Break it down even farther, where we placed in comparison with other districts across the state. As you can see, 4 of our 5 areas were in the 3-star range. Here's a comparison between last year and this year in those categories. The only one that went down was that early literacy component. We've stayed standards between both school years. Now, obviously, some of the percentages within those have shifted around a little bit, but in terms of a rating of stars, status quo. If you look at the 20 indicators, the 20 tests that our students take in the spring, for the most part, broken down there, and I know it's very difficult to see, but you can see the green that's there. 14 of the 20 tests that our students took in the spring, we got better. So 14 out of those 20 tests, we improved. That's something certainly we want to celebrate and recognize the efforts. In some cases, they were significant jumps. In other cases, they're just by a percentage point or 2. But irregardless, the staff and students worked very hard to kind of get to that point in time. So essentially, after looking at the general overview, achievement progress in 13 of the 20 tested areas. Early literacy was that only decline, pretty much the same across the way. We've identified some subgroups that we as a district, and especially the administration and staff, need to look at. They take a deep dive into special education. We have approximately 23% of our students in grades 3 through 12, and they're so talented. Here's going to Mr. Marti. anyhow,
Mr. Marti, can you just go a little more this way, get away from that speaker?
you think that's it? Anyhow, all right, so back to the principal voice in me. So, the identified subgroups, we're going to take a deep dive into that information. Special education, 23% of our students are in grades 3 through 12. They've flatlined, they've not done a whole lot of progress moving up as we would like them over the last couple of years. So we need to take a look at the whys behind that. Surprisingly enough, when you look at the other subgroup that's males versus females, females are outperforming statistically our males in the lower grade levels and the middle schools. We need to look at that. By statistically, I'm not talking just a couple percentage points, it's sizable. So we need to figure out what's going on in that particular subgroup. And our economically disadvantaged, they're actually doing pretty well overall. They're holding their own with the students that are categorized as not. So that's a good thing, but we need to take a look at who those students are, because you may be a student that is a male special education student and economically disadvantaged, and your scores are reported in each of those 3 categories. So we need to figure out who those, if we do this, if we look at who those students are, I think we need to do a deeper dive administratively to figure out kind of what that's going to look like moving forward. COVID is still a factor, which is what I think happened to our early literacy this school year. The students in 3rd grade last year were the COVID group, missing out preschool, perhaps missing out kindergarten. It just was, that's still a factor. In fact, a research report from the National Education Association said, basically, everybody thinks everybody's countrywide should be right back up to where we were before COVID. It's saying that that's not the case. It's across the country, we're just not there. And I think we're going to be feeling the effects of COVID, that global pandemic, for several years to come as we kind of move up to that point. So what we've done already, and what we continue to work on these next steps with the district, we have adopted the new English language arts curriculum, grades 6 through 12. It's being implemented this school year. ELA K5 is going to build research and look into it, be adopted next year. Now that we have the science of reading behind us, and we're learning about how to integrate that fully with the curriculum, working towards that. We just did an adoption of science 6 through 12, and we will look again. Even though the last category says science of reading, it actually should say science of math, because we're hearing that there's now rumors around the state and the legislation about creating a science of math, quote unquote. Don't know what it's going to look like, don't know if it'll ever come to fruition, but we've been advised to hold off on any math curriculum by the county. Actually, they have representatives come from the state and say, kind of pause on that for just a little bit so we can figure out what we're doing, and hopefully we will. We did purchase NWA MAP, NWA MAP, which is an assessment resource looking at the growth for reading and for fluency and in math. It is research-based, it's aligned with the state standards, it's leveled to meet the students, and then advanced them appropriately. In years past, we've used iReady. What we found was the iReady results did not align with the state standards. We found the results from the iReady program did not connect with the state results that came out. And we also found that as the students got older with iReady, they got to the middle school and they were burned out of it. They didn't like it anymore, the results weren't very good. We needed to do something different, we needed to do something better. Now we had an iReady contract for multiple years. No longer the case. So that last year was our final year. We opted to investigate and move forward with this. We had some teachers that went through the program and looked at that.
So what are we using for Tier 1 and Tier 2 intervention? And what does professional development look like? Because I hope it has something to do with science of reading.
Well, everybody's going through the science of reading by the state, as you know. We have to do that by the end of the school year. In fact, I think we had, Shelley, 40, 60, 60?
Yes.
Close to 60 staff members already go through the science of reading professional development that is offered by the state. I know that the principals are going through it. I know that they're talking about it in their staff meetings and they're addressing it. It is part of the PDs kind of moving forward as we're kind of looking through that.
But are we offering anything other than what the state is offering? Are we doing anything that we have bodies coming into buildings and doing hands-on professional development and giving our teachers tools to use with our kids in the classroom? Because I'm looking at these scores right now and I'm heartbroken because we are not addressing the foundation. And that is the problem. The problem is the foundation is not being built. I hear what you're saying, I know there's new things coming down the pipe, but you cannot build a house and start with the roof. Our K-3 teachers need curriculum, and they needed it 2 years ago. And this science of reading is not front page news. This has been on the headlines for years. And I have been saying this for years before I was elected to this position. We have got to do better. We have got to get some tools in our teachers' hands. We have got to get our interventionists in the classroom with these kids, pushing in, teaching with our teachers, and helping them meet the needs of these children. This is not a gender thing, and COVID, I hear what you're saying, but we have got to get some staff in classrooms. We've got to get these class sizes down. That is where the meat and potatoes of this problem is.
And we're doing our best to address it. I cannot address what happened in the past. I'm going to try to address the best I can what we're doing moving forward. And this is the best that we've got at this moment in time, but we are looking at all that information. I think your idea certainly of trying to find some resources outside that we can bring in to address science and reading in the classroom show is something we can look into. I'd be happy to talk with my colleagues across the county, see if anybody's heard of that and what that looks like and how they're approaching it. I'd be happy to do that. Supplemental resources for NWA MAP, the elementary teachers have opted to go with a waggle for reading and math. It's streamlined right into what the NWA MAP does, so they'll have more information. Again, what we've got there is better than what we've had the last several years. So a step in the direction. The restart readiness assessments are there on provided by the Department of Education. Middle school staff has done it. They've used it for well over the last 4. They're going to year 4, but I think now, and it's got better than that. Some information from that. And the middle school, high school teachers have done that in addition to that assessment authoring tool that's there. Other steps, building leadership teams, district leadership teams, assessing, have spent already some time looking at this information, trying to understand, trying to take that deep dive into it. They're trying to make some more engaging lessons. In fact, that's one of the focuses of the September 25th sessions, I should say, coming up. And what we want them to do, however, is when they see something's working, share it, keep it going, talk amongst your colleagues, and put that in place. Because what we found in the last few years with our professional learning, back to your point, is that we didn't have time to talk. We have a lot of great things going on in our district, in the classrooms, and there may be something phenomenal going on at second grade GPS or third grade GPS, we'll say, but the folks at Austinburg don't know that, maybe they're struggling with that particular concept. So we're building in some time for everybody to talk collaboratively, share their ideas, share their thoughts, talk as a department. What are you working on together as opposed to trying to work in simple little islands in isolation? So we're looking at that from a horizontal, vertical standpoint. And I commend our building administrators because I've heard the language of instructional coaching coming out of virtually every single one of them in my conversations. Much to also to your thought of bringing somebody in, I think having instructional coach in the science of reading, but also these administrators addressing instructional coaching from that standpoint and really digging deep into helping our staff members with their practices in the classroom. Finally, we got reasons to celebrate. We're not where we want to be. We're not. We can do better. We should do better. We can do better. And I believe that we will do it together, working as we get there. But it starts district-wide. It goes all the way down into the classroom teacher. But I certainly can do that. My comment to the department chairs at the secondary level yesterday was essentially move the needle. Move the needle in a positive manner. We can't just keep doing the same old. We're getting new resources. We're bringing in new ideas, new concepts. There's a positive energy flowing throughout the district. We need to move the needle in that positive direction and move forward. And they were elated to hear that, and they were very happy to see that's going on. That's all I have for the report at this point in time. Yes, I can get first.
Good afternoon. I'm going to start by saying I want to let you know that our building is going through a huge transformation. We had a building beautification.
Yes, you did.
Yes, we did. And I put some pictures in my report. Miss Wood, I'm telling you, her arm was broken. Cheryl Kitty's arm is broken.
Yeah.
Brittany Savage, Alyssa Herder. So we are going through, we're putting in Geneva colors in the building. So it used to be one color, pretty blah. So that was something that we worked hard on. Miss Kitty is going to have seniors come in during Christmas break to help finish. Obviously, we didn't finish, but we're going to have them come get some of their community service hours, which will be a very nice thing for them as well. I showed you some pictures of the hallway, what it looked like before, and now we have some of our pictures in there as well. I also gave some pictures of what Miss Brittany has been doing with the kindness tree and the different things we're just putting about. So one of our main focuses is culture in the building. We want to change the perception when the kids walk in. We want to see it be bright and colorful for them. We want them to feel like it's a warm, inviting place. So we're working very hard on that. And one of our last things that we are doing for that is Mrs. Simmons is painting SOAR with the wings. So when the students get their Student of the Month award, they can stand in front of the wings and then have a picture that will give them and their family along with their certification. So something different, but I think it's much. We celebrated Constitution Day. I also wanted to go over some of our enrollment. Right now, we are at 346. We're down about 20 from last year. We were giving some of our open enrollment to Oxford. I don't know how much of that transpired, but the numbers changing daily. But you can see that we're still pretty high up there in our enrollment. New this year also for physical education. We have a PBIS incentive program for those kids. They need to run around. They love to run around.
Yeah, they do.
They're running around when they're not supposed to run around. So Mrs. Alls came up with a PBIS incentive program. Basically, when the kids come to their gym class, they're following the rules, they're listening, they're playing properly, they can earn a free gym time. So right now, they're from the rules. Mr. Bryan, Ms. Lee, Ms. Cram, and the sports class have all earned that additional PE. She is, once we start going down, then she's going to narrow it by students that have really shown the growth over the years. So that'll be a nice thing as well. So I want you to know that you're welcome to some of our upcoming events coming up. We have school pictures on the 27th. You want to get your pictures taken and put in our yearbook. We also have the 3rd grade part 1 and 2. Who's come? You come? You're all coming? Okay. We have Red Ribbon Week coming up. We have Trunk or Treat coming up for our 2nd annual Trunk or Treat and our fall party. What's that?
I said I lost my packet.
You left? You go on.
I hear school photos, the first thing I can hear is like Lisa's voice.
Where's your packet?
You get your items and check in there.
Bring that home. What's the code? What's the code? Now it's what's the code? There you go. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm still old, so I'm used to using our first meeting, starts our enrollment and our opening.
Mrs. Doherty, can you turn the mic on, Mrs. Doherty?
Is it on?
No.
Testing. Do you really want to hear me?
Well, the
Anyway,
camera does.
good evening. So I did include in my presentation just a lot of appreciation to everybody that it takes to get our year off and running, and I think it's off and running and a great start. The kids came in happy, and at open house everyone seemed ready for school. I can't thank Mrs. Grimmett and Mrs. Cork enough for everything they did all summer. moving furniture again. They've had 2 years of moving furniture around, but now that the teachers did have flex seating last year, they're putting more of a ratio in it of regular seating as well. So it's evolving with that and trying to always improve. Also, maintenance, they did on our playground, we had a terrible drainage issue. They fixed that this summer, and we got a lot of mulch finally, so we're so happy with that. And everything got resurfaced, so our PTO moms can't wait to go paint games and that on the blacktop. So the kids are gonna look forward to that too. It's all about the kids. Of course, cafeteria, they're always ready. And Mrs. Ritchie is very thankful, our secretary, that we have a full-time nurse. I think she got teary when she was talking to Mr. Riley. She was so happy, she was tearing up that, you know, it just makes a big, big difference having that person there. And we have a wonderful nurse, Mrs. Burgett. She is just, she took it on. Is she here?
She's here.
Stand up. She just walked in the first day and just took it on and handled it beautifully, and I just kept begging her, let me help you, I don't want you to run away, I want you to stay here. I only threatened to lock her in the clinic only once or twice to keep her, but no, it's been so refreshing. She's so very good at what she does, and she's wonderful with the kids, and she knows a lot of the kids already, so that came as a plus. But yes, Mrs. Ritchie is so happy about that. Transportation, we were ready to go. We didn't have too many bumps in the road there. And of course, technology, we're always working on that, especially with our map. And right now with that, we are still trying to test our kindergartners, right, Mrs. Sika? And getting through that and collecting that data. Our teachers all put in the students' files a data sheet. So that tracks it as we go through the years, which is so nice. It gives us that data on hand. And then we've decided to try to change things around and looking at our scores to really refocus on our title services. And with MAP and with our data that we're tracking, and with Mr. Batista, he is our Title I tutor for the upper grades. He took it upon himself to take classes and do LMSs, the summer learning modules, to really work with those upper grades with the foundations, because we feel like we're leaving those kids behind. And so for him to take that upon himself, I think because we were all on the bandwagon with Wilson, and we still are, he wanted to learn, and I think that's pretty commendable for him to want to do that, and so we're excited about that. So that's where we stand in our opening. I did share some enrollment with you because that's what I'm used to doing. And if you notice, it's so hard to tell what your numbers are going to be because we have so many that are registering right before school starts. And that's what happened. If you see 2023, we had so many kindergarten students, and then we did have to move those over into 3 first grades because it went up to 52. But we are staying steady. I did add Head Start in this time because we do service a lot of students in Head Start, and we do try to include them in part of all of our activities. And they are Geneva students that are learning school, and so they do a great job with that. And we do have a new autism unit through the ESC. We have students in there, and we are trying to get that up and running and helping the teacher and making a positive experience there. Our other 2 resource rooms have been right there helping out as much as they possibly can. So it's always nice to see everybody working together. And then that's just our totals, and we're growing. We're up to 305, and so that's but that is not counting Head Start there. And then I did break it down for our, we were talking about our subgroups. I did try to break it down with subgroups. And I did include open enroll in. Those are the kids that are coming in from other buildings or other districts. So that is, something that we do want to watch. And of course, gifted in there. And so that's where we stand, and it's off to a great start this year. So thanks to everybody, thanks to your support as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Marti is scrolling up to the side of the.
Thought he was trying to get attention. You can speak from back there, we'll hear you.
Might not hear it.
Exactly.
I don't think my two elementary principal colleagues have saved me any time, so I'd like to thank you, and I'm done. Just saying, thank you to everyone for us getting off to a great start. Special thanks to Ms. Peck and Ms. Cross for working so hard over the summer, making sure that the building is clean and ready to go for all of our students to be able to come in. Our teachers were there throughout the summer working very hard in their classrooms, and Ms. Peck and Ms. Cross made sure that they kind of cleaned in areas around them. So I commend all of them for coming in and doing a great job. Mrs. Sedmak, our secretary, keeps the building running, and she had us ready to go at the beginning of the year, so thank you to her. The Ostenburg enrollment sits at 221 PK through 5th grade. I'd like to thank the maintenance staff for coming in and working hard to get our wheelchair swing that we've had for a little while, getting that installed. Mrs. Knapp and her class have been waiting patiently for this to be put in, and now it is finally in the playground, and I know the students that are going to get a chance to use that are very excited. So I'm grateful for our maintenance staff for doing that. AESA has already started off with some fundraisers, and I'd like to thank them for their continued support of our students at Ostenburg. Also, we didn't have any mulch in the front of our building, so AESA went out and got the mulch for us, and our two wonderful custodians spread that for us so that we had some mulch around our new beds in the front of the building. The 3rd grade teachers have taken on the gardens and brought some students out to go ahead and weed our 4 gardens in our back. A little bit concerned as to whether they knew what they were doing. Mrs. Nelson was trying to go ahead and say, trying to explain to them how to go ahead and weed gardens when one of the students came up and said, Mrs. Nelson, is it okay if I deadhead the flowers to get them going? And Mrs. Nelson took, wow, a student knew about deadheading the flowers to go ahead and get some good new growth on there. So we definitely have some green thumbs amongst the 3rd grade, and they made that look really nice. We also have some pumpkins that are coming, some acorn squash, sunflowers. We've already picked a lot of our tomatoes and peppers for the year. One final note, this elementary thing is still a little bit new, so on the first day of school, I was like, I wonder if we're gonna have anybody cry. And first day of school, 1st grade through 5th grade, no tears. I'm like, that's pretty good.
What about
And
the
then
principal's office?
2 days later, kindergarten. I'm sure that we're gonna have some, and no tears. So then the next week, the day after Labor Day, is the first day for preschool. Now, come on, 3, 4-year-olds, they all go in, no tears. And then I'm waiting out there for the other car riders to come in, and all of a sudden I start hearing some sobbing, and I'm going, almost made it the year with it, except it was 2 mothers walking out that were crying. So I think no tears for all the students at Ostenburg for their first few days coming in. So that was a positive, but it's been a good start, and I appreciate everyone's help so far. Middle school. Hey.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thank you. We had a great start today of the year. I just want to say thank you for today to all the people who helped out. We got a lot of text, phone calls from administrators to help out for today. The police were here first thing in the morning to help out with our issue. It was great to see everyone come together to make sure our students and staff are safe. It's greatly appreciated. And the community cares so much about everything that goes on, and everything worked out the way it should be. So we appreciate that. Only Mrs. Carnett. Mrs. Carnett started this year our school market program distribution of the first one in the first Tuesday of the month it is. Thank you, September 3rd. But it was great. We actually had someone come through, and I said, "You've done this before?" She goes, "Yes, this is the most organized one I've been to. This is our first time." She goes, "Really?" So that's just like the other place we're here to learn from you guys. We passed out 109 boxes, and we've already started thinking ways to make it better for next time. So we're greatly appreciated. She did a great job spearheading that. We worked with the Cleveland Food Bank. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Our custodial staff, just like everyone else, they did a great job, phenomenal job getting it ready. I gotta give a huge kudos to our cafeteria staff. We have about 497 kids, we have a couple new kids this week, so might be up and down from there. First couple of days, when the students come in here from elementary school up, they don't know their PIN numbers, it's a 4-digit number, it's a random number, so it's always a little hectic the first couple of days when the lunchtime. We end up with extended lunch. It's no big deal. They expect that the first couple of days. My cafeteria staff last year probably averaged 320 to 340 meals served a day. We're up anywhere. I think my lowest was 369, up to 395, 397 meals a day or so. So they're really working hard to get the meals out, and it's greatly appreciated. We have kids coming up who pack a lunch and say, "I didn't know my lunches again, please make sure you get the whole meal, just don't pick up a piece of pizza, buy it, instead of taking everything that's good to know that they do." So that we're only feeding kids in here, so it's greatly appreciated with the staff. We started this week, start with the low, and I do apologize, I put it up there at the top this week, and somewhere down below I started putting October, so I jump on ahead. We actually had Joe Carroll this week, start with the low. So I actually was talking to 8th grade and 7th grade about see something, say something, and actually the 7th grader who notified us about the Snapchat thing, so they must be listening and paying attention somewhere, so we really appreciate that with the staff and students. So he meets with 6th grade tomorrow, so we'll just reiterate all of that that's going on. And he'll be back with life skills. Our booster group is October 24th is our trunk or treat, and we'll start a poinsettia sale. November 1st, I think it's 2 weeks. Thank you, 2 weeks. You want to say 2 weeks? So, great, they did very well that last year, to increase that this year, so if you see anybody from our school, etc., those here, please buy some poinsettias from them. That's good. She's my right hand. She doesn't hear mine. I'm it's a little out. I apologize. A little different thing for me, so. But thank you very much.
All right, the high school. So with what Mr. Riley and Mr. Paul were talking about, I learned that there was a Geneva High School in Alabama, and they are the brunt of a lot of that social media stuff that was going on last week. But of course, anybody sees something about Geneva High School, they report it, which is great. But I got to talk to them down there, and I still find their accents amusing. And I learned that there are 5 Madison high schools in the state of Ohio because of another Snapchat incident regarding Madison High School, etc., trying to figure out where it started from and who I could help out. Called all of them, we figured it out. They handled it. Again, even if you think it's not something, just let us know. What I would beg is if you're like, I need to send this to 10 friends, pretend that I'm the 11th and get it my way. Just don't shoot it to your friends. Shoot it to your friends. Maybe if you have to, but please get it to me so I didn't look into it. All right. So kicking off the actual report, talking about the state report card. Geneva High School received 4 stars. It's kind of like a Yelp review. What is it supposed to mean? Being compared to the components, we did really well on gap closing and progress. Achievement was beating the state average. As was asked earlier, how are we going to get better? Last year, as you guys all know, every teacher and every principal has to do HQSD. I have done this the last 13 years, and my current HQSD follows report card, our weakest area was geometry. That was my focus. That's why I worked hard. We have a great geometry teacher, Mr. Berry. He worked really hard as well. And it's not magic. Mr. Berry, it was a joy to watch him last year from the beginning to end of the year. You know, again, everybody over there was new to me, but trying to make that focus, it was great to watch his classes. And it wasn't me, I promise you that, but I paid a lot of attention, helped as I could. 14 points, but pretty solid. Like I said, my HQSD is already in. It's going to be out. My students can just close their ears for a minute. I'm terrible at algebra. Algebra 2 is a crime against humanity. I will do everything I can to assist. Mrs. Bell, we're going to work together this year to try to do some, like I mentioned, deep dives, possibly some co-teaching. I'd rather not find X's, leave them where they're at. We'll try to work with regular numbers and make it a good year. The student council is very busy planning homecoming. They're doing a lot of great work. Mr. Markajon, Mrs. Unsinger, and Ms. Blevins lead that crew. It's great because they're incredibly ambitious and they're very good at getting things done. Leadership elections, all those folks worked incredibly hard. It was really cool to see some of the posters. We even had posters that lit up this year, which was new for me. So you probably saw the main entrance sign that was refaced. We're getting the other ones prepped to print now, so all of our signs, our direction signs in the parking lot will be refaced. We are hoping to get it probably by October 10th, so that way, you know, there'll be clear directions as to where folks are going. Homecoming nominees, if you're interested, put that on there as well. And then, of course, many, many different sports are going on. And if you guys are bored, tomorrow is the day for fall sports, like holy Moses. We have girls golf at the CBC Championship at Erie Shores. We have girls tennis at the CBC Championship at Jefferson. We have volleyball at home versus Jefferson. We have girls soccer at home versus Jefferson. We have boys soccer at home versus Mayfield. So, good luck if you want to see it all. Just follow my little silver card. You can join me, try to keep up. There is something, and it was mentioned a little bit by Mr. Poland, that we are working on at the high school. We're going to try to bring you a report probably on fall sports coming up in October. I'm very interested to see what the removal of the fees did. There's a couple of small places that I've already looked, and the jump was outstanding, like significant. Very impressed. We're also going to, of course, get the numbers from the cafeteria. I'm already noticing a giant jump in breakfast. So, you know, I know it was a big deal for those fees to come off. Good job out of you. I know it's not popular sometimes, but well, people need to hold their own weight. But a lot of folks got the opportunity because, you know, growing up in a family that didn't have a whole lot of money myself, you don't want to take or ask for help. It's not easy. So when there's a zero balance, it's so much easier for people that may not have had that opportunity to engage. So we're pleased with the numbers, we're pleased with the opportunity. One of the highlights was our drama group has the largest turnout since COVID, and she said probably one of the largest fall turnouts ever. So we're very excited about that.
Sir, can you, tomorrow or sometime in the next week or so, will you just shoot over enrollment numbers?
We're right around 700, and unfortunately, like Mr. Coleman, it is
Okay.
like,
When it kind of stabilizes, like grade level, if it ever does.
and that's idea that we had with ATEC worked. So we have our first ever college prep ATEC students this year. We pushed it and got it through. Only school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening.
I started out the year with a new special ed supervisor, and super excited about, because of her background in special education. She has spent just as much time as I have, except for that she's gone where I'm almost at, and got her doctorate in my dissertation, so. We've spent a lot of time talking about things that we can do, looking at the data, which I think you've heard from every single one of us now, to try to come up with ways to improve the special education department. I don't think that Pam has gotten to, or Dr. Epler has gotten to Cork yet. She will be there, not tomorrow, but the following Thursday for sure, to all of the buildings and talk with students, went into the classrooms. We didn't go in every classroom because if we felt like there was something super important going on in there, we didn't want to interrupt, especially when it comes to the units. It's hard to get those kids back on track. So we did poke our nose in most places, and it was fun. It's always been a goal of mine. I think every administrator's goal is always to be seen. It's hard. A lot of times there's a lot of paperwork for me to go through, to keep things in order. So it's an effort that I'm making this year, myself and Pam, to not only be in meetings with people, but to be in the hallways with people too, and in classrooms. So we're well on our way for that. One of the things that we're hoping to implement are focus groups with our intervention specialists, where we will actually meet with school groups of intervention specialists to talk about where we are, where we're going, how can we help, kinds of things. We're hoping to start those in October on some of those additional days that Pam has on her calendar. What else? We've already completed 47 IEP meetings this year. I did not count the number of 504 meetings that have happened, but there's 47 IEPs that have already transitioned, transferred, you name it, we've done it. And when it comes to, I know that I had done a presentation towards the end of the school year about some of our IDEA funding, and one of the things that I was proposing at that time, and it was just in the works, were to purchase the Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention curriculums for our intervention specialists in Title I, which are the foundations, levels K through 3, which doesn't go grade levels. That covers elementary and just words for middle school. Those have been ordered, those have arrived, and at this point we're working on finding proper places for the money to come from and time for those people to get specific training in those programs so they can be implemented with fidelity. So things like that are on our radar, and things like that are improving, and we are planning and working with our teachers on getting those things rolling so that we can help those numbers at the end of the day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Riley.
The interim superintendent recommends approval of a closed gift identification service plan for the 24-25 school year.
Second. Any discussion about it?
Doesn't appear like there's very many changes. The line was removed.
Correct. The one change was that the state has removed one of the testing resources that we can no longer use. They actually put that in August, as a matter of fact, so it's very, very new. Yes, the majority of the document covers, it's pretty encompassing, it covers quite a bit of things that we do.
Any others? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz? Yes. Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg? Yes. Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
The interim superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed student parent device handbook.
Any motion?
Second.
Discussion?
So we're covering fees with ESSER funds?
Correct. One of the perhaps the most significant change in following suit with the board's decision to remove pay to participate fees was for the past several years, students have been given the chance, families given the chance to pay for optional insurance, anywhere ranging from $17 up to $28, $29, whatever it would have been depending on the year. However, with the help of Mr. Regard, we have found a local company, K-12 Technology, that for our devices in grades 6 through 12, if the device breaks in some manner, he'll call them, they'll come pick it up, they'll turn it around, and they'll repair it. So we use some ESSER funds as opposed to having our families pay an optional technology fee for the next 5 years. That kind of covers us. Now, it will not cover, as it's noted in here, it will not cover reckless, willful, wanton, or malicious actions, I guess, on the devices. For instance, picking off the keys is one of them. Seems to be something that the middle school was had fun with last year, I guess. Removing some parts to the devices. They're connected with adhesives, so you really got to work at it And if it's being vandalized in some manner, there will be disciplinary consequences, but the families will be charged for those actions. But anything else that's a normal wear and tear, simple fixes and things like that, K-12 takes care of it for free for all of our devices for the next 5 years.
Will the children have a loaner while it's being repaired?
Yes, children will have a loaner while it's being repaired.
Anything else?
For those of you that know Mr. Gard, know him well, he is appreciative of this opportunity because he would go home and he'd often share stories that his wife will be watching one show and he will be repairing laptops that are probably 30, 40 deep in his living room. So this will eliminate that and allow him to divert his energies elsewhere.
I think this is amazing. Thank you, Mr. Regard. I think it's great.
I have one more question. How many do we have, like, extra on hand to have afloat, like, while some are being repaired and?
I would guess we have probably a handful in a cart. It probably varies in each one of the buildings, but I would guess 50 to 75.
What do you guys have? Do you know off the top of your head?
They've been rotating around, Mr. Bernard, and rotating.
So should we, I don't know, should we do something to get more in hand so that we have some deployed?
It's actually already, was crossed on this very.
Okay. All right, so how many?
I want to see you put it over for like 500 or something. We'll be, well, I think I think part of the challenge, Mrs. Craig, part of the challenge has been Mr. Burgard cannot keep up.
Oh, I totally get that,
So,
yeah.
in trying to do this maneuver, the devices, according to him, the devices were able to come back within like 24, 48-hour turnaround time. That would significantly help.
Right.
And also, I know that our administrators do a wonderful job of making sure, especially at the secondary level, that the students understand they can't carry their laptop by the screen out of the hallway like this. So I think we're on our way. I think they'll get better, and I think we've taken some strides in making that direction.
Well, I know, and my daughter one time had to swap, I'm gonna say, I think she was in middle school when she had to, like, a key was stuck. And I would say it was like 36 hours. I mean, it was very quick, and they gave her another one. I just know that if that, happens 10 times over and we don't have surplus, that's hard to keep up with when you're only one person and you only have so many extras.
So we have to go from 50 to 75 to 500. I mean, that's
I
what
don't.
it takes.
I think that number is district-wide. It's not just strictly that one building, kind of spreading it out. And again, we're trying to use and finalize the remaining of the ESSER funds. Now's the time to do that. So if you can get a deal and figure it out, we'll at least sign a purchase order.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg? Yes. Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz? Yes.
The interim superintendent recommends that the board waive the first reading and adopt the following new revised policies due to technical changes. Policy numbers are listed.
Second.
Any discussion?
So can you just briefly go over the technical changes?
The technical change that's in each document, it removes my name as compliance officer, Title IX compliance officer and such, places Mr. Marti in that role moving forward. In my current capacity, I am unable to serve in that role.
And that's all encompassing of all of these?
That is the only change in each one of those. I think there's 13 policies. That's the only change.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any else? Roll
Yes. Mrs. Craig?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
The interim superintendent recommends that the board approve the enclosed bus stop locations and time schedules for bus routes for the 24-25 school year.
Moved.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Craig?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
The interim superintendent recommends that the board approve the following students as having met the requirements for early graduation for the 2024-2025 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Did we get letters from
Congratulations.
them? Sometimes we get letters from them.
I don't care. I think that they've done enough work. If they want to write a letter to them.
Yes.
Yeah. Let us out of here, please. That would be nice.
I believe we have received, get on the school free cards from us.
It's exciting because it's extremely scary. You guys are going to do a very good job, so be proud of them.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yeah.
Mrs. Ortiz? Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Oh, sorry, yes.
And Mrs. Craig?
Yes.
Treasurer, you're on.
The treasurer recommends the approval of the appropriations as presented for the fiscal year 24-25 to be considered permanent appropriations upon the receipt of the certificate of the county auditor for the total appropriations for each fund that do not exceed the official estimated resources. General fund appropriations are approved by the second digit of the function and the first digit of the object, which I'm sure sounds foreign to you, but it's part of an account code. And all other appropriations are approved by the fund.
Moved.
Second. Any discussion? Any questions about that?
I do just want to point out a few things real quick. The general fund will pretty much to a point, the bottom line does match the 5-year forecast. With two exceptions, I did increase, there's two increases from the bottom line of the, for the 2025 forecast line. We did have a large settlement payment with a few different parties this fall. So I kind of wanted to not have that go against the budget, so $105,000 was built in. Also, the science and reading stipend is increasing that because the Department of Education again, they are reimbursing us for that stipend, so we are paying it, we are getting reimbursed. Normally, sometimes when they reimburse us, it's actually going against the expenditure, so due is actually making it that they want to show that as a revenue. So even though I am increasing the expenditures $155,000, we will get that revenue, which you don't see. So that will be a wash, but just so you know, that is a difference with your 5-year forecast for 2025 as compared to your general fund budget. Just a few other things. There's two funds in here that we have to use up by the end of this year. As you know, ESSER funds need to be expended in full by December 2nd. I do have to submit a final report. Also, we have student wellness funds in a 467 fund. 2-3 years ago, they were issued in a separate fund. They are now part of our foundation settlement payment each month. But these funds that were put aside, this 467, do have to be utilized in full this year. So that fund will go away after this year.
So with that changing the budget to the 5-year forecast, do we have to amend it?
No. So it will be reflected when the November 5-year forecast is out. So again, we are still within our means of our certificate of estimated resources, which basically just outlines how much revenue we have coming in. So all of your expenditures are less than our total revenues. And then after this is approved, it will go to the county.
All right, where are we? Any other discussion? Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Craig?
Yes.
And Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
The treasurer and interim superintendent recommend the approval of the attached proposals between Frontline Education and the Geneva Area City School District for the use of, first one is financial planning, analytics, budget management, analytics, and human capital management with time attendance.
Second. So the one options. Is there an option that you're recommending?
So,
Am I thinking of the right?
So let me start with the first one. So the first one is the financial planning, analytics, and budget management. What that is that's a forecasting tool. Every other district in Ashtabula County utilizes this. Most of them have been on for 10 years. Grand Valley came on last year. It will present, first of all, your forecast in a more easily read manner for the public. There's one page at the end of the forecast which stays the same, right, at the bottom numbers. But everything that comes before that, I'm looking at the past forecast, there's a lot of words. It's a lot of reading. This will outline in graphs, and there's just small blurbs of changes of what's affecting the forecast. Also included in that is the, I'm trying to think of the word, the monthly, let me see if I can find my words, my monthly budget management. What this will actually do is when I close the month, I can send the information to Frontline. It will compare it to last year, let alone with the forecast. So we can kind of see where we're going month by month as compared to our past. And then, do you want to touch base on the other portion?
Sure, from the human management side of things, the system will allow us to advertise and collect resumes and information from applicants that are out there. We have very limited capability with what we have now, and it's very challenging for an employee to find a position, I should say, that's in our district. So this would allow us to communicate them out better, collect the information in a paperless format, allow us then to go ahead and have our administrators take a look at everything online, make notes of the people that they've met with, how they rated them, how they, some things they liked about them, so there will always be in our pool that we can kind of keep pulling from moving forward. From an HR standpoint, it also would free up some of Mrs. Richmond's time in terms of communicating out all these documents and sheets to send them out in terms of you need to go to this place and fill out this form, you need to go here, fill out this form. That would streamline everything into one system for us, allow us to keep track of personnel records significantly better. But from a recruiting standpoint, it would really open up our doorway to get applicants into our district. And we know that are out there, just not seeing what we have.
And then also with that, there's 3 modules in the second quote that we have, right? So it is the online applicant tracking. We also have online forms. So the applicants will be able to fill everything out online, and then also eventually we'll be able to put all of the new hire packets all online. So which helps, keep it all in one spot. They'll get notification that they have forms to fill out, and then they can, go over to the payroll system and they can just print off what is needed, and everything else will stay in the file. The third part that's on there is a time management system. So at this current time, all employees report their absences in a Frontline ASAP, as we used to be told, system. So this is actually right along with that. So instead of a punch card that you have, you can actually use a computer to sign in, again, through the same application. So you clock in through there. So we will build the rules around everyone's schedules, and it'll know, and it will round, and it'll put your absences in, and then it'll go for approval electronically. So it'll save a lot of time, a lot of paper. Just seeing, I've only been here for a month and a half, and just seeing the time it takes to analyze the time cards. And I know what my department does, let alone if the secretaries have to do that. And then the principals are signing off on that. And then,
I bet you're really tired of paper, aren't you, Shelley?
yes, there's a lot of paper.
There's a lot of paper here. In a month and a half.
So again, in my past position, I also built a different time clock system, so I'm familiar with what needs to go into it. So I'm not scared to go ahead and jump into this because I just think it's going to be so much easier for everybody to go in and improve time. The only change is that right now, from what I'm told, transportation does not punch in and out. That would have to change, and I think that is a huge spot where they do a lot of punching in and out in the first place, so I think this will be a wonderful advantage for them to keep track of all their time. There's spots, if they go out and do a trip, they can choose a trip, they can put notes in there.
Monday morning, like, what?
Yes, you can do it every day if you want, right? You can reconcile, bring up your employee staff and go, oh, I don't have a clock in for Karen. Where did she go? Oh, she tried to put her absence in, or she, So it will really help. You can do it day by day instead of waiting for that time thing, the time card to come in on a Friday and it's due on Monday. This district does have a really quick turnaround on pay. So when the pay period ends on Friday, you're actually getting paid the next Friday. So by the time you transmit on Wednesday, that's 3 days to process a payroll, which is not a lot of time, and this will definitely help with the process. When we are talking about getting the cost, when he laid them out, so again, there's 3 modules with that. Basically, if we went with all 3 modules, it's buy 2, get 1 free, basically. So it would have been, approximately $11,000 a piece. You're getting, again, buy 2, get 1 free. There is that one-time implementation cost. Again, that will be for setting up all the forms and setting up all the time cards. But he did work with us. He's not charging us, I think, until December this year, so it's prorated for this year and then after that. So it's a very exciting adventure that we are hoping that we will.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, amen. I've been begging people this for.
This is the same company also that does, they don't have the attendance and ESIS, and I noticed when I log in to do my attendance, it's the same company.
Correct. So when people go to
very well, it all ties in.
So when you log into Frontline, if you want to put in an absence, you'll also get the option to log in. So it's the same login. So, there won't be anything to do with that, which I think will definitely ease the change to all the employees who have to utilize this.
Are you doing training for the employees?
We will obviously, yes, everything, will work. My perfect world is I would like to have this implemented as they come back from from winter break. So the first of the year, in a perfect world. So, it just depends how long it takes to build it, but, I think
If you build it, they will.
the faster we build it, the faster we can use it. So,
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg? Yes. Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Okay. Now for the one we've all been waiting for. The treasurer recommends the approval of the attached proposal between Strategic Solutions and the Geneva City School District for the use of an automated requisition system with USAS integration.
Second.
Shelley?
So this is the one with options. So which option are you recommending?
So, in speaking with them, we actually only need option 1, which is the least costly option. So what this includes is we have a support maintenance, and it has the requisition workflow. So what this will do is the requisitions, instead of on a piece of paper that's quadruple copied, that has to be hand delivered to each approval person. The building will actually stick the requisition in. So from there, it'll be routed. So again, we'll build this in the background. It'll be routed to where it needs to go. We can choose whatever approval we want. If it's special ed coding, we want it to go to special ed instead of just to the building principal. So we can build it as it goes. The person who puts the requisition in will be able to track where it's at instead of saying, oh, where's my PO? Is it ordered? I don't know. Is it in Mr. Riley's office? So this will be a great thing. You're kind of responsible for your own, items you're putting in. Also it has the option, once it's approved, the requisition, which is turned into a purchase order, can go straight out to the vendor. So central office will no longer be responsible for the sending out of purchase orders, that he who puts the purchase order in, requisition in, will be responsible for it. Also, what happens then is when we get the invoices in, we can scan them in at our end, or we get them in the building, and you can attach it to the PO, and then you route it for also approval. And then from there, when it's approved, we click a few buttons, and it goes right to being printed as a check. So the paper in Mrs. Picture's office will diminish immensely here. So, we're excited with this. I think for this, the integration will be minimal because, again, it's built to work with state software redesign. So I'm hoping it's going to be more of just training of the personnel, right? It's starting with the building admin assistants and teaching them, first of all, understand coding. Again, when I talk about function and object level, and people don't understand that code that comes across. So it's going to be a little bit of an education of what goes in and why are you choosing this coding for what you're purchasing. So,
Thank you. Interrupt a second. Mr. King, is it something she said? Yes. No. Why did everybody leave?
I know.
It's 10:09 and they have
School tomorrow. Oh, right. Can we get all them left? Make sure they get ready for coming to meeting?
I have photo weapons.
Oh,
I
good
have
job.
photograph together.
you took it.
No, well, they left, did you? All right. Just wanna make sure they're okay.
I can do this paperless.
Yeah, there you go. Please send me a report. It's 25 pages long. All right, anything else, ma'am?
I think that's all.
All right.
Anybody have any more questions?
Anything else?
No, I think
Yes,
it's awesome.
amazing.
Thank you. Yes, fantastic.
This will be fantastic.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. McDermott.
I have another one.
Hey, look out.
The treasurer recommends the approval of a transfer from the general
Thank you
fund.
specifically for that thing.
Oh, you want, really? You want, okay. We're very excited to
Yes.
go a little less paper.
Yeah.
Gee. The treasurer recommends the approval of a transfer from the general fund to the lunchroom in the amount of $812.94 to clear bad debt from the 23-24 school year per board policy 8500 and federal and state guidelines.
Second.
Am I having deja vu, or did you do this already?
You are. So what happened is when Mrs. Patrick originally had run the report, it was only for active accounts. When we went to clear those accounts last month, there was actually some inactive accounts, and the $812 is the amount of the inactive accounts that we do have to clear also. So it's just an additional amount.
Any other questions?
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
The treasurer recommends the board to approve the disposal of the attached list of assets as they are no longer of any use to the district. Some items will be traded in or sold at public auction using public surplus.
So moved.
Second.
The track tape players? They're gone.
We are going actually over to the old board office tomorrow to start our final cleanup, so we will have another disposal list next month.
Questions or comments?
You say should be, players?
Yeah, you tried that? I think you're all done now. The last round is this.
We could bring the whole body.
Yeah.
I'll find one for
Were
you.
you even born yet?
I thought it'd be more to buy them, because from the 70s, I wasn't there.
Simmer down.
You're going typewriter.
Ajax are terrible.
Old typewriter.
All right. Roll call, please.
Ms. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz? Mr. Pierson?
Yeah.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
And Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
The interim superintendent recommends the following personnel actions for the 2024-25 contract year.
Approved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg? Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
The interim superintendent recommends the following volunteer coaches for the 2024-2025 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Mrs. Cybulski.
Yes.
Mrs. Craig.
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes.
And Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Now we are in public comments. Agenda item, if you would like to speak, please come up to the microphone. Each speaker will get 5 minutes for a total of 30 minutes for the segment. Please state your name and address for the record, and I think I got it all.
Looks like it's on, I guess.
Is it on?
Yes, go go.
Mary Allison, 5076 Lake Road East, Geneva. Just wondering, OPSI has no contract in their hand yet. Was wondering why it didn't go to Edie Richmond, who's so familiar with the contract and could do changes right away. It's going to some Megan, I think, the lawyer, and she's cutting and pasting, and it's a big mess. And I know we're supposed to move the proper channels, but when things don't happen, I question it. Because we've always had a contract right away, and I'm baffled.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Christy Burns, 4262 North County Line Road, Geneva. So I have a couple of things, bullet points here, so bear with me. Couple things, when we were reviewing the information for the early reading. So I have 2 kiddos in elementary school right now. I have 1 kiddo that I got information on that is gifted in math. She couldn't read at her grade level if she tried. She's a very smart child, but I just feel like from the beginning of her schooling, she was handed a really cruddy situation. She had a teacher out for a year, so she had a substitute in the classroom. Just different small things like that. I think when we have our teachers out and not in the classroom, that makes a big difference, I would say, just from a parent perspective. I think that has a lot to do with why a lot of our children are struggling. Just making sure that their teachers are able to be in the classroom is a big thing. Number 2, I couldn't tell you what reading level she was at. If I wanted to, prior to that, I didn't ever get any communication on that. So I think it would be awesome if parents had some form of communication, just simple stuff, like we can do grade cards and things like that, but I think it would be super helpful for parents to know, oh, your kid's at this reading level, these are the type of books you should be reading with them. She loves to go to the library. We did the summer reading program, so simple things like actually having books in hands that's at that specific level, and I know these teachers do so good. But when you miss a year of teaching or knowing like that specialized teaching, a teacher who goes through science reading, which I have no clue what that is as a parent, but I'm excited that we're going to try something new. I think that those type of small things would really help at the elementary level. Just letting parents know, not broad, oh, these are things you can do to help your child at home, but hey, this is the level. If you're going to the library, this is what you should be looking for your student. I think that would be helpful to know. And when my oldest daughter was in elementary, they did some programs that made reading incredibly fun. They did a bingo for both program, and I've never seen kids so excited about reading. They would collect youth books from throughout the school and pile them on a lunch table, and they invited the parents in the evening. And those parents could come with their kids, they played bingo for books, and it was just extra time, but I know that my oldest kid, loved going to that. I think just small things like that can make a big difference, so just from a parent perspective. And then
Just have a question real quick before you go.
yes.
You said, not having a teacher in the classroom, what are we talking about? Absences or
That specific, my daughter was in a classroom where the teacher was out for most of the year.
What grade is she in now?
She's in 3rd grade now.
She's in 3rd grade now?
Yes. So this year, she's very excited. Last year, her reading increased exponentially, but she's still not there when I got her testing scores back. She's still not to her grade level where she needs to be at, and we do work a lot at home, and I'm educated, but I'm not a reading teacher. I don't know what to do, so I think just those small things might be helpful from a parent's perspective, just knowing where your kid's at. You're welcome. And then otherwise, I just wanted to say, like, final forms from a staff perspective. I'm thankful for that. I've had probably called 90 to 120 parents this year already, and I've not had one that didn't have a correct phone number, which is mind-boggling, because last year it was really hard to get correct phone numbers for parents, having the information filled in, so I am thankful for that. I would just like someone to just take a peek at it and make sure everything is transferring between what the teacher progress notes for contacts versus what is on final forms, because I'm not sure that they're syncing from what I've seen in a couple of situations. And then otherwise, I know you mentioned that we have to use all the ESSER funds. I don't know if those are all like, do I need
That's
that?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry. It's okay. Thank you. Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, this concludes our public comments. Do we have any board member reports? Anybody do anything fun lately?
I wrote some things down I just wanted people to be generally aware of. I first want to say that I want to thank the staff for taking the threat very seriously, given that when I saw it, it looked like a potato had taken a photo from 2015 and put a red marker over it and brutally almost misspelled the words Geneva.
Yeah.
And the first priority was still to keep everyone's kids safe and not make it a joke. So as ridiculous as that situation had to be, opening it up, I mean, we would have got, are you kidding? Thank you for taking this seriously. Two, I was looking at some of these statistics for testing the past few years and trying to find some of the things we could use to supplement a more holistic approach to testing. I was surprised to see last year a lot of the 3rd grade kids that had tested, I think 3rd, 4th, 5th, tested almost directly after spring break in a lot of the advanced areas, which was pretty mind-boggling to me. And I understand, I'm not here to hang out anyone dry. I just, looking at that, I was a little perturbed. So when I went and I picked people's 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade brains all around the district, it also seems like right now we're gearing up to potentially slot 3rd, 4th, and 5th to take the test at the same time, including people with IEP 504s and other interventions. That's not the case? Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure that the 2 things I wanted to ask from that, which I'm glad I was mistaken about the second portion, so that Mike can hear it, is just to make sure that we spread that out and that we were looking at those accommodations. If you guys are, especially with enrollment, the thing right now where I can't even ask you the question what that looks like, if that needs brought to us, we look forward to hearing that from Mr. Riley, getting your input on it as well. And yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a few things I wanted to mention. A lot of them are a lot of them are safety concerns. In light of everything that has happened with all these crazy things. I have some questions about, do we have a threat assessment team?
Yes.
I'm just wondering if these teams are convening and we're having these meetings to document this, because if we have the same students that we're having infections over and over again, are we documenting this appropriately with the team and having the family come in and talk to them so that we have the paperwork to show the process?
We are, when it's, we've not done it in the latter couple of instances, but we have had for assessment team meetings. Families have been notified, the kids are involved in those meetings, coaches are involved in those meetings. So we do have documentation, and then in the last couple of meetings, have police department is involved, so there is a paper trail. There are parents being contacted, there is notifications.
Are the parents physically coming in?
I think in some cases they are, in other cases the police are going directly to their homes.
And once the police take it, it's out of our hands, right? We stop paying for assessment, right?
It's not entirely our hand, we still want to make sure that we are.
I just want to protect us and, you know, others, the staff, the students, and all of us. I'm not looking to make more work for people, I'm just looking to protect all of us. Go buckets. What's the status on those? What do they look like in our buildings?
I could attest to that.
Last year,
What do we have in them? Do we need stuff in them? Do they need updated?
We are completely up to date in all the buildings on Go Buckets. I think we have 5 or 6 that we're waiting on a couple supplies for. But everything was updated, and then this year we're updating the water in them because the water levels need updated. But as far as everything else, we just did that last year with the help of Mr. Marti.
Perfect. With all.
Because our nurses stepped in and helped.
So not that I was gonna give nurses another job to do, but I was like, since they're there, if they wouldn't mind and they need looked at, could they look at it? But I just, with everything that happened in the past 2 weeks, I was like, maybe somebody could just open them and make sure that everything is in there that needs to be in there. To go back to the state testing, something that I wanna throw out there, and I know we've got ESSER funds that we could possibly use towards this. Could we talk about a permanent sub in every building? I think
ESSER funds are, again, have to be fully expended.
I get that. But could we use part of that till they're fully expended for securing a permanent sub in each of our buildings? Here's my thought process on this. If we're looking for getting staff with kids, I'm hearing many tales of principals and title people being pulled as subs because we don't have subs. Now, I know this, I'm a public school teacher, I get it, I know there's no subs. I know that you are trying to figure out how to cover and make things work, I totally understand. But I know that if we had a permanent sub, if we started in our elementary buildings by putting a permanent sub in there, even if we had no teacher out that day, the interventions that could take place, or, I mean, I can speak as a K teacher, all the assessments that we do are one-on-one. And there is no way that you can assess a kindergartner in September one-on-one without complete havoc and World War III going on in the back end of your classroom. So I don't know what that could look like, but I know that I've not talked to any of the principals, I'm just kind of stepping back and looking. I'm thinking that would probably be helpful in our buildings. And then we could possibly keep our interventionists with our kids that need that service. Is that something that we could do?
It's something we can look into.
We're looking to do.
As you stated, we are struggling to secure subs, bodies, physical bodies that are dependable, that can be, I call every day, because what's happening is they're just not there.
Well, I'm hoping that this new system too, we can get more people in the pipeline, because I know several people that have applied and have turned things into Amy, and they're just sitting there. They've never been called. Their paperwork is not, they've called and asked, they went to the county, they've done all the background checks, and they have not been called one time. So I'm hoping that, you know, with this going in place and we get some more people in the pipeline, that maybe would solve part of that problem. But it would just be such a gift to have another body in our buildings that we could put and pool. Even if, you know, a teacher's child gets sick and they have to, an emergency happens and they have to leave, and then you don't have to pool that, you know, you don't have to pool Mr. Batista and put him in a classroom, or whomever, you know, is in that building, so that you can cover a regular, and then those kids don't get served that day. Because if we're counting those minutes as interventions, and then we have to pool that interventionist, and that kid doesn't get served that day, now we're not meeting the minutes on the documentation for our special ed kids. So it's just this vicious cycle, and if we could do one little thing to stop a leak one place, it might help in many other places. I was just trying to troubleshoot and see what we could come up with.
Thinking out of the box, which I can appreciate, and that's something that we brought forward in prior years. We struggled to get some last year, this year. Just what I'm seeing, we're getting our classes covered overall, which is a good thing. So we're still, I think we have less subs now than we did last year at this point.
I don't doubt it,
So,
I don't doubt it. And it's so hard at the beginning of the year.
Something we need to look at, and I think the sub pool continues to grow over the course of the year, especially when you get into second semester, when you have college, early graduates, we can pull from those places as well, and that's by advertising through this frontline system, that's going to help us.
And maybe nab some of these kids that are home on college break, because where I teach, we go out and solicit. You're gonna be home, give us your dates, here's where you go to get your self-certificate, go get your background check, and you tell us when you can work. Because a lot of our interventions and things that we're doing when we have to rescreen, and we're pulling those kids in to push in so that we can have subs and we can do one-on-one interventions and build it into our day and get done what we need to get done. So if those are, if we can get all those pieces and parts moving and plan ahead, it might help us as we're coming into testing season and all those things that we have to execute, and we need bodies. We need bodies. So, okay, that was what I had for right now.
It's concerning a little bit, this is private a little bit, that there are applicants ready to sub and not being called.
There's gaps in the, I know there is a disconnect, and I know off the top of my head 3 people that have turned in paperwork and have never been called once. So, and I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know. I know that Edie does what she has to do. I don't know if it's big, but the county is just, there's a lot going on over there that they don't seem to have a really good grasp of. I'll just leave it at that.
You mean like the county office?
Yes, because a lot of the things that you have to do to set, you have to go there, you have to get your background check there, your BCI check, your MPI check. So there's a lot of moving parts, and I'm so hopeful with all of this with Frontline, that a lot of that's going to be rectified, and we'll be able to have some people. But I just think there's too many hands in the pot, and it's really hard to make sure you have everything dotted and checked. And it's hard to you've got to make sure you have everything dotted and checked before you bring people into work with kids. So that,
Okay. Anything else, Mrs. Ortiz? Ms. Cybulski? Okay. The board will open the executive session to consider the appointment, employment, discipline, or compensation of a public employee and the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee. I like to put this in English, so here's what we're doing. We're talking about disciplining people, of course, because of the public, and we're talking about finding us a new superintendent. So, any other business? We are not going to return. We have no business to do after executive session. Can I get a motion to go to executive session?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Cybulski.
yes.
Mrs. Krieg.
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz. Mr. Pierson.
Yes.
Thank you all. Have a good night.